Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. Sulaiman Rahim, breaker of the seven seals, messenger of the covenant as specified in the book of Malachi. Brothers and sisters, let's bring in the audio audience. Bear with me for a second. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Welcome. Okay, brothers and sisters, as I said, I want to talk about the Injil Key. Now, what is the Injil Key? Injil is the Arabic word for the book of Revelations. Now, we hear everyone's talking about the book of Revelations. And you should really ask yourself a question. Because the book of Revelation says itself, as does Daniel. That's sealed. It's a sealed book. See? So how can they talk to you about this book unless the seals has been broken? Now are they claiming to have broken the seals? Some people say that Jesus broke the seals when he revealed the book. Well, that doesn't make much sense, does it? He's going to take and lock you out from the safe or give you the key to the safe. I mean, if he's going to give you the book, the sealed book, and he's going to reveal it, then what's the point of sealing it? He came with the book. He gave the book, right? And then he says, it's a sealed book, but I'm going to tell you what it means, right? Or the bank is locked, but here's the key. Make any sense? No, it tells you the book will be sealed. Both Daniel and Revelation tells you the book will be sealed until the end time. See? But they don't talk about that. And they still claim to understand what it means. So that means they don't have no idea what it means unless the seal's been broken. Yeah, Farrakhan talked about, he doesn't know. Now Elijah Muhammad never claimed to have broken the seals, but he gave some explanation of what he thought Revelation meant, but he never claimed to have broken the seals. And those were just his guesses. See? But other people, they claim, well, I mean, they have no idea what they're talking about. And we're going to show a little bit of that here. We're going to demonstrate some of that here. See? Because there's only one person will be able to break those seals. Because it says when Suleiman or Joshua or Jesus, whatever you want to call him, when he shows up, that would be his credentials. See? Just like a police officer, he has a badge. So you know that he can serve this warrant or whatever. So it says that would be an undeniable credential that you know who, because you wouldn't, see, they give you pictures, these phony pictures of what Suleiman would look like or what Joshua would look like. Jesus and Joshua is the same name. It's just two different languages. Joshua in Hebrew or Arabic, right? And Jesus in Greek, same name. Come on, same person. I'm not going to go into David and Solomon. Anyway, so you would know. See? Because you got these ideas in your mind, you know, he's white, right? And he's with the beard, and I mean, you got these ideas, and you got a lot of people walking around looking like that, right? And they do it on purpose. So how come you ain't worshiping them if you going by how he should look? Because you have no idea what he's going to be like. You have no idea. He's going to be a man, a human being, right? He's going to have a personality, right? But the way they present him, like he's just like flower child. He loves everybody, right? He wants to save everybody. That's not the Jesus I read in the Bible. That's not the Joshua I've been reading about. The one that called a woman a dog because she pleaded with him to heal her daughter, and he refused to do it. He says, what I have is for for my people. It's not for the dogs. He called the woman a dog, and the disciples looked around. What's going on here? And she kept saying, she persisted. She says, and persistence pays off, right? She says, well, even the dogs get the crumbs that fall off the master's table. So they said, okay, he'll, go ahead, your dog, he'll, get lost. He wasn't pleasant with that woman. And when he was beating those people out of the temple, you think he was beating them out with roses? He took a bat and beat their asses. See? And he said, what are you going to do? He says, he's coming back. He says, he's not coming back. Don't come with peace. He's coming with a sword to kill people. And anybody that he disagrees with him, he's going to throw them in hell forever and ever and ever. See, so you keep on going with that old flower child version you have, and you claim you're reading the Bible, but you're putting yourself in jeopardy. See? Because the Bible is there for you, original people, for foresight. See? It's a foresight, because we have the ability of foresight, but that we get it through the scripture. Right? See? Because we can understand it, because we have the mind to understand it. But they've programmed you to turn your mind on itself, so you don't understand anything. See? You don't understand anything. Okay, I'm going to have to disable this. Let's see. I'm going to hold on for a second, brothers and sisters. Got a little situation here. Let's just do it this way. That'd be the easiest way. See if that works. So it's to give you foresight, because that's what it is. The scripture is written for foresight, but they tell you it's hindsight. So therefore, you think, well, it still happened in the past. They blinded you. They effectively blinded you. They effectively blinded you. They tell you this is hindsight. All stuff happened in the past. No, it's happening now, and it's to happen. See? So your enemies have blinded you, and they programmed you. Turn you to Negro butts. Took 64 years to do it, but between 1555 and 1619, they accomplished their mission. The first Negro bus came off the assembly line in 1619, right? You went in Kunta Kinte, you came out Toby, right? You came out Oscar Peterson, see, Jamie Richardson, see, Denzel Washington, see, those were brands. They weren't names, brother and sister. They weren't names. There's brands, because when you went to, if you was Amos Washington, and you got sold to, and your master was called Master Washington, you got sold to Jefferson, right? Then your name became Amos Jefferson. See, because that was the indication of who you was owned by. But now you say you celebrate those names, and you telling the whole world that you're still a slave. You still owned by master, because you're still carrying his brand. And the names you have right now, just an indication of the last master that you had before they finally threw your ass in the ditch. Because they got rid of you because they no longer needed you. They tell you they freed you. That's a lie. They didn't free you. They didn't send you back home. They didn't get any separation or anything. They fired you because they went from the agricultural age to the industrial age, and they no longer need you anymore because they didn't start having machines and things. That's the truth of it. And there's a lot more detail to that, but that's not the purpose of this presentation. So I want to talk about a couple things just before I really get into this Injil Key, right? Because this is part of the Injil Key, actually. But Elijah Muhammad told you, he said the last weapon they would have would be their women. Now I'm trying to deal with it in a mathematical way for you. Like I said, we explain everything mathematically, and I'm trying to explain to you all the things that they're talking about in the Injil, in the Bible, all the things that unfold are all mathematics. Those are mathematical books, but but you don't understand it that way. See, and if you understood mathematics, and if you had a thorough knowledge of mathematics, you would need those books, because a lot of it you can figure out just mathematically. And I'm gonna give you an example. So let's go in. Let me see if I give you an example here. Now this is what the Injil Key looks like. See. And we're going to explain it more as long, but I'm going to show you this part right now, simply because I want to. We're going to explain why it looks like that way and where it came from in a minute. But I want to just give you some background here. See, that's what Injil Key looks like. I said, well, I will explain it, right, in a minute. I want to show something here. Now I'm getting an analogy here. Now those of you, I know some of you think that Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve was made, and we all came from Adam and Eve, right? But if you use a Master's version, where Adam and Eve was white. So the question is, where did you come from then? You know, where the hell you come from? It was white, but that's their version. That's still their version. Like they say, Jesus white. It's still their version. But see, they got woke now and politically correct. They can't come and tell you, but they taught that in their schools, their children, for 400 years. They still teach it to them. Because the question is, where did you come from? Because the first thing a child will ask, if Adam and Eve was white, then where did these black folks come from? See, you don't ask these questions because you're so busy, your head's so up their ass that you don't ask these questions. See, you're intoxicated with the smell, right? Hides the view. You don't ask these questions because if you ask these questions, you would not like the answer. Some of you would probably even care. See, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Because the question, that's what they teach. When you go there, you see pictures of Adam and Eve. You ever see Adam and Eve being black? Some so-called black churches try to put Adam and Eve black, but nobody's paying attention to that. And we see Jesus see as white, even though that's impossible, because in that region, that era, during that period of time when he was around, all the people was dark skinned. And he grew up in Egypt. They try to tell you Egypt was white. Egypt was black people. Carthage, all those black people, that was North Africa. Most people didn't even realize when I was growing up. Most people didn't even realize that Egypt was even Africa because they kept telling you, make you think that Egypt was a European country. There was white folks that did all of that. See, you don't know. You've been on a shitstorm for 500 years. You've been totally programmed against yourself, programmed against any kind of reason, any kind of knowledge, and your mind was just taken from you. That's why it says in Daniel, your mind had to be given back to you, because your mind was taken. See, that lion had to give it. He had to make the lion was made to stand up, and his mind was given back to him. Because they took your mind away from you, because you don't ask any questions. Because if you start asking questions and stop taking BS for answers, right? Prove it. You would instantly short circuit your programming, and you would wake up. But your program is about to be short circuit anyway. See, it's going to happen anyway. See, because God promised, He's going to keep His promise. He's going to take you home. So He's going to short circuit your program, give you a chance, to wake up and get the hell out of here. Because this place is going down fast. It's in free fall. You can't see. They tell you it's going to be food shortage. If they tell you that, it's going to be worse than that. They tell all the stuff that's going on. So why do they're being punished? And so why would you stay here and be punished when the reason they're punished because of what they did to you, and now you're going to stay here and suffer the punishment on top of what they did to you? I mean, that's kind of stupid. You have a way out, and it's a free gift. You have to pay for it. You have to pay me a dime, right? Nobody's telling you to do anything. They're just telling you to get the hell out of here. So come out of here, my people. That's my message. It's been my message for 30 years. You just come out of here. See? Anyway. So you believe in Adam, even this Sunni story, right? See? Well, they got one to say, well, Adam was made from black mud, fashion and shape. But if you come and say Adam is black, they ain't gonna buy that one. See? But it doesn't mean that he was black. See? Because it said the mud was already fashioned into shape. But later on it tells you Adam came from a life germ, sperm. So he came from our sperm. But that I don't want to argue with these people anyway. Because they got their mindset, they're programmed to a certain extent, and reason doesn't apply. Because reason doesn't apply to anything out there in the street. You know it. It doesn't apply to any religions. You can't ask questions. You can't apply reason to them because they're all a bullshit. Every one of them. All of them are philosophies trying to explain how things work. And it's explained by people and these people that doing explaining, they claim to have a connection to God. So that's how they rule you. They're going to tell you, well, God told me to tell you this and God told me to tell you that. Or Scripture said this. It's their interpretation. Because that's what the Catholic Church had going for, 500 years? Until, 500? And then 1,500 years. Until the Europeans finally said, okay, separation of church and state, because The Pope, man, he's the vicegerent of God. I mean, he's the one. And so you couldn't do anything unless he said it. See? And he was the one that's directly connected to God. And that's a long story together. And you want to keep believing that stuff, that's up to you, brothers and sisters. See? Because it's all philosophies of people trying to explain how things happen. And then when technology comes along and proves this couldn't possibly be true, then it becomes a myth. And then they move on to some other BS. They're philosophies. See? Christianity is a philosophy. See? Hinduism is a philosophy. Sunnism is, and all the philosophies, because they don't know. Now, they do have a scripture. I'm not saying scripture is wrong, but they don't understand it because scripture says they're locked, they're under veil. That means they don't want to understand anyway. It says, that's why it says the only person, the one that can unlock it, the one that claims to have done it and can prove he has done it, that's the one you should be talking to. Not where, looking for a picture or a portrait or a certain figure, right? You got to go back, because a cop show up, you can't say, oh man, you don't look like no cop. The badge is sufficient. So the one you should be looking for is the one that correctly broke those 7 seals. That's up to you whether you do or not, because your life you're playing with. Okay, so I'm giving a little analogy here. See, this is building up to what this is like a little a preview. See, because I want to get into something else, but I want to give a little something here. See, try and explain some of the things going on right now. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to say I'm using metals, right? Because if you go by the Yaqub version, according to Elijah Muhammad, right? Then the Europeans were grafted from us. They're a stripped down version. And we, if they say that genetically, when I was what they call it, shorty, that's for you slang brothers and sisters out there, right? I used to always read. I didn't hang out in the streets. I mean, I hung out a little bit, I wasn't the dork or nothing like that, but I hung out a little bit. But I mostly spent time reading and stuff. But I had a lot of trouble in the street. I was always fighting all the time because I'd be talking about math and science and stuff and they didn't want to hear that. The brothers and sisters didn't want to hear it. And I lived right in the center where everybody hung out at. I lived right across the street from the hangout place. See, so I was right in the middle of it, but I wasn't in it. See? But anyway, so let's get back. So I'm saying, I'm giving some analogy here, right? Oh, I was talking about genetics. So I read a book on genetics. I must have been about 11 years old at the library. Now you get a book on genetics now, you need a master's degree to figure it out because they throw all this math and stuff at you. They're just told plain English because they knew we didn't read anything. And most of us still don't read anything now. But they said, basically says, we had dominant genes. I understood, I was 10, 11 years old, I understood it, but then we have dominant genes. The black genes are dominant and the white genes are recessive. I tell you right there, we've got, right? I mean, I understand Yaqub, but I can understand right there that they're a weaker version of us. Because it says recessive, that means weaker. They're a weaker version of us. It says it right in the book. If you get a book, right then, I mean, you still can get that out of the book. They say their genes are recessive, now it's dominant. I mean, how can you lose? How can you have a problem with that? See? Their own book says that. That's genes, DNA. So I understood that even then, right? So before I learned about Elijah and and that stuff, so it made sense because I knew the math behind it. What he said made sense because I understood genetics. By the time I met him, when I was 21, 1970, right? I already had a background of genetics and physics, and what he said made total sense. Because that's what they say in their books. They ain't saying it like that, right? And there was no evidence of Caucasians prior to 6,000 years. They're even admitting that now. But anyway, so I'm just saying right here, I'm saying we're still, right? And I'm saying at the bottom down there, Caucasians, right? They're like porcelain, right? And then you got the Africans, right? They're iron. Then you got the Asians. I'm saying they're brass. I'm saying the Orientals are tin. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying that's I'm just giving this analogy. So pressure is the nature of our universe. Pressure is the nature of our virus. So you don't know that. See, because they give you all this stuff and everything. Pressure is the nature of our true reality, because everything is mathematics. There's no exceptions. And you tell these religions, you know they're false, because if they was true, how come they can't bring something out of their reality that represents their reality? They can't, because their realities don't exist. See, in other words, Buddhists should be able to bring out a Buddhist vehicle to operate on Buddhist principles. See, the Christian should be able to bring out some kind of same thing. Same thing with Hindus. See, some Hindu oil, Hindu fuel. See, but they can't. Only thing they can do that is mathematics. You can bring things into reality from mathematics. Mathematics is invisible, but you can show mathematics is true because you can bring things out into reality from it. But you can't bring anything in reality from Hinduism, all that kind of stuff. And say, well, I get it from prayer. Well, okay, you go and pray for a car, right? And so show me one pops up out there that's operating on Christian principles or whatever, right? Because you say you pray for it, that you don't have to go to the dealer and ask the dealer, can I do you a credit check? I mean, I thought you pray for the car. Why you got to go through a credit check and you got to pay and all? You got to pay gas. You see what I'm saying? It's bullshit. Anyway, when you start thinking clearly, brothers and sisters, when you start asking questions, right? When you start asking questions and stop accepting bullshit as an answer, prove it, you find out that you become deprogrammed. And your mind start coming back. See, because you're going to be short-circuited anyway. That programming that they gave you 400 years ago is going to short-circuit in a minute. See, I'm going to talk about that later on. But right now, you can do it. You can do self, because that's what I did. You can do self-deprogramming. See, if you just start doing that, you find out right away that this, what you thought how reality is this whole lie. Because everything you've been told for the last 20 years, everything you've been told for the last 20 years before Master Prophet Muhammad showed up on these shores is a total lie. These people lie right now. Every day, lie every day. I mean, you listen to this, that's nothing but one lie after another. One lie after another. They don't tell the truth about anything. But they got you believing half of it or 90% all of it. So I'm using his knowledge right here. So I'm showing, that we're the strongest, still the strongest of all. See? But if you understand you're in a pressure system, right? Then with pressure, right? Pressure is because molecules are colliding with each other. That's pressure. See, pressure is the collision. It's the intensity of the collision. So under high pressure, the collisions are very intense. They could be fatal. Under low pressure, it's like it's moderate, right? So in other words, it's the interreactions. So interreactions can be mild, because when you talk to somebody, when you interface, that's an interreaction. But that's one you accept. See, when you're making love with your special person, that's an interreaction, but it's one that you accept. See, it has a certain amount of trauma goes with it, but that's something that's acceptable to you. See, but if you get in a fight, that's one that's not acceptable. That's a more intense interaction. That's how pressure works. I'm not going into all the details, but pressure is very easy. The idea of pressure, the mathematics are very simple. But you go get a book on pressure right now, and brother says most of the stuff you can just learn online, right? You can get a PhD online if you want to. If you can get a PhD online if you want to, unless you just want to spend a lot of money to get you a certificate. Because there's all kinds of knowledge online that you can get, and it's free, brothers and sisters, all kinds of stuff. But if you want to keep watching NBA and NFL, you can still remain stupid. Because by the time all the time you spend watching that, you could have been a scientist, you could have been a musician, you could learn all that stuff on your own. See? Okay. So you have these different levels. And I said, I was talking about pressure. Okay. So, like in a pressure cooker, right? The reason why a pressure cooker is so effective because you turn the heat up, and so everything starts moving faster and faster and faster, but it can't get out. Because normally, if a boiling pot, right, the stuff comes out, so it cools off. But so it gets faster and faster and faster, so the collision gets greater and greater and greater, right? As molecules collide with each other. Okay, so say you got steel colliding with porcelain. Well, steel, porcelain like those balls on the pool table. If it collides there, it's going to crack them. The steel will crack the porcelain, but steel may not even have a dent. See? But the steel is going to move slower than the porcelain because that's the way it works. Mass times acceleration equals force. But the force and the pressure chamber, all of the force is equal for everybody. The force is equal, every force is equal everywhere. The problem is just the mass and acceleration changes. Because the more massive you are, or the more structure you have, the slower you're going to move. In other words, if your structure is 12, remember, if the force is 12, and your structure is 12, right, that means you're only going to move it 1, because 1 times 12 is 12. So that means your acceleration will only be 1, right? But if your mass is, or structure is 6, then you move twice as fast, because 2 times 6 is 12. If it's 4, it's 3 times. You see what I'm saying? So it depends on, so in other words, and that also connects how fast you're thinking. So it's still, it's moving, it's not thinking as fast, but it's thinking deeper. But it's moving slower because there's more structure to it. So it moves slower, right? But the Europeans, this plastic, they move real fast, thinking real fast, but they think shallow. See, they don't consider consequence what they're doing. They move faster, and that's why you see all this technology and everything else, right? It's moved faster where in the European countries. See, what's next? The Asian countries, the Oriental countries. What's behind them? See, that's no coincidence. That's the math behind it. The Europeans move faster, or their technology and everything, they move faster than anybody else. They have all this stuff going. See, and who behind them? The Chinese. They're right behind them. Who behind them? Then the Indians. Africa's the lowest, and we the worst of all. We ain't doing anything. See? They train our minds, but our minds normally is based on we think deeper, but we consider consequence what we do. So we make a move, we make a solid, steady move because we do consider consequence. With Europeans, they don't consider consequence. They just do it. And that's why they run into trouble all the time. You understand? That's the mathematics of it. And that's exactly what the scripture tells us is going to happen. Okay, so the pressure increases. So that's the heat. You turn the heat up. So where's the heat coming from? The universe expands and contracts. I don't want to go into a lot of detail about this, but we have a situation where the universe, as it expands, right, all the energy that used to be here is out there now. So that means we have less and less energy as the universe expands. Till we get to the point of energy deprivation, we don't have that much energy anymore. And so we require more energy because we have a greater structure than everybody else. We become weaker than everybody else. We have less energy. So our systems fall apart, right? But Europeans, that's why Dr. Yakub made them, because they need less energy. We're like a Lamborghini, they're like a Volkswagen Beetle. They didn't need that much. So that means they could still move around and they have enough energy to build civilization and everything else. That's why the Quran says, I'm going to place a new rule on the earth, because during that period of time, right, our system was falling apart, but they could rule. It'd be a bad rule, mischief and shed blood, right? It'd be bad water, but you need water, so bad water is better than no water. That's how they came to be, right? And then everybody else in the middle there somewhere. Okay. So now the universe is contracting, now energy is coming back. So the heat is turning up now. Heat is coming up. See? So now the pressure is building up. Remember, they're weaker. They have weaker structure. They was made in a situation where it was low pressure. That's why I said they was made in haste, right? Because they was made in a situation where it was low pressure. But now the pressure is building up. And they can't withstand the pressure because the pressure is colliding. And so they collide with each other and collide with everybody else. So they were all over the world fighting because they collide with everybody. See, but now they collide more with themselves. See, that's why the war is going to break out. That's why you see stuff going in the Europe now, but it's going to get worse. But this is not Armageddon. This is just a prelude. This is wars and rumors of wars. The war is going to ignite this whole thing. It's going to be in the Middle East, and that's going to be soon. But this thing with Ukraine is not it. Okay. But what I'm saying is, so they're colliding. See, they're the more warlike than everybody else, and China's right behind them. See, and then India's behind them. They're slower, right? Africa's slower, and we're almost standing still. See, but they're still colliding with us. See, so now the pressures is becoming great, and they withstand. That's why you see America crumbling, and then you got dope addiction and suicide and all that stuff, because they can't withstand. They can't handle the pressure. They cannot handle the pressure because, of course, they collide with us, and it breaks them. It breaks them. It put a little dent in us, whatever, but it breaks them because they crack. That's what's happening in America. That's why they have addiction thing, right? They got the sexual identity confusion, right? Because they're being broken. They can't withstand the pressure. It's going to get worse. The pressure's getting great. Now they got a senile man running the country. They can't handle the pressure. He's a sign because he can't get they can't find somebody strong enough mentally to keep this thing going because the pressure's too great. When you're under great pressure, they get confused. And that shows that leader is confused. And that means it's going to get worse and worse and worse. All these things you got to understand. I'm going high level. I'm not going into real mathematical detail here, right? I'm just trying to go on high level to get you to understand the scripture, the mathematics behind it. Because I tell you, we talk about mathematics and we can prove everything we say mathematically. And you see this pattern. Who's the greatest, who's the most powerful? The Europeans. Who's next behind them? The Chinese. Who's behind the Indians? Who's left behind the Africans? Who's last? We're us. I mean, is that a coincidence? They say, well, that's because we're stupid. See, that's because you're white, then you're more intelligent. See, they interpret that way. Obviously, they're going to interpret that way. That's not what's happening. See, we're the strongest. We're the best. We're still. See. But as the energy, so we get the energy every 50 years. Now I can go into a lot of detail about that. I don't want to. I'll just say quickly. The first positive energy we've got it comes perhaps every 50 years according to Quran. It says, it's momentous in the heavens and earth, but it comes above a sudden. And it comes like every 50 years. So the first positive one we got was in the 1860s, where we got enough energy to break that physical change we had. The next one came 50 years later, around 1910s. We started getting breaking mental barrier, because now we have people like Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Elijah stuff, start telling us, so we start coming like Afrocentric, right? Start thinking about African stuff. See, before we didn't know nothing about it, or we just broke out of chains, right? See, and then 50 years later, right? Then we broke our social chains. That was these numbers you can check on your own. 50 years later, Motown sound, right? That was, and I'm gonna talk to music. I don't want to go into, but we broke our social chains, and now we are 50 years later. We're gonna break all chains. This is what's going on right now. This is gonna be the end result of what's going on right now, and the music followed that. Because when the blues come out, 1860s. When jazz come out, we start feeling jazzy, 1910s. When the Motown come out, we start black and I'm proud and everything. 1960. But you can't make this up. Check it out. See, this is the mathematics behind it. See, you don't see the mathematics behind it. See, if you did, you wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be listening to these fools. You wouldn't be listening to people like Farrakhan that don't know shit. Oh, there you go saying shit again. See, so I'm just trying to use a feel for math, because your mind appeals. This will appeal to your mind once you get those mind blockers off, because they got you with fog glasses on. They got you programmed to not pay attention to your own nature, to go against your own nature. Because once you do that, this is going to appeal to you because it makes sense. It's mathematics, and your mind thinks that way because scriptures are written, for your mind type. See, for your mind matrix. That's why they could never understand it. That's why it was locked to them. See, but once your mind opens to it, you'll see it right away because that's the way you think. You're a spatial-minded thinking person. You're spatially thinking. You're spatially minded thinking. They're analytically minded thinking. When you got Farrakhan, you start to think analytically. That's what they think. No, that's inferior. Spatial thinking is superior. It's comprehensive, right? Anyway. So the pressure's building, and we're right in the middle right now because it says momentous in the heavens and earth, but come over sudden. So the energy wave is hit here already. But it says it's momentous in the heavens and earth. It has to be absorbed by the earth, and earth is our mother. So earth takes and regenerates the energy and converts it to form we can use. So it'd be more energized air, more energized soil, more energized everything else. And that's happening. You're going to feel it soon. You're going to feel it soon, right? See? And it's going to be transforming like you can't believe. They'll be changing in a twinkle of an eye. Because now we got enough energy to have a civilization again for our nation to come together. See, we didn't have enough energy to have a nation, but now we're going to have it in a second. And that's everything they're trying to do to prevent it. They're doing everything they can to prevent it. But anyway, so here we go. So now we collided, and now we're in the middle of them. So let me go to the next page here. See, now we mixed up with them. So they collide with us here, right? You got steel colliding with porcelain. See, but we got a special problem because of And I don't want to go too much detail. I spoke about it in many other presentations. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. But because of raping our people, raping our women for 400 years, we got a situation where half the black people in America are demons. Their master's children says, the enemy sowed his seed amongst the wheat, right? So the enemy did that. They did it on purpose because their seed looks like us, walks like us, but their seed heart is to them. And that's caused all the confusion in the black community because I don't like niggas and stuff. Because that's their people that's doing that stuff. That's causing all this stuff they're doing, killing people and raping all. That's their people that's doing that. That's not us. But it look like us, and we take the hit. It's like a wolf. He's right there in sheep clothing. He's right eating all the sheep and says, "Man, that guy's a murderer." You understand? Man, that's a rogue wolf, sheep. No, he's a wolf. He just looked like a sheep. See, so we taking the hit for all these clowns go out there clowning, Mark Lawrence and all these people. We take the hit for all that stuff. That ain't us. That's them. It says half of the blacks in America are demons. There's master's children. There was house Negroes and whatever. And you're gonna come in. You're gonna feel me in a minute. See, because right now, oh man, he's divisive. No. And that bullshit about one drop of black blood make you black. It might make you black, but don't make it original. They skin folk, they ain't kinfolk, and their heart. You hear them on TV. We. Our founding fathers. Them people that hated you. They spit on you. They shit on you. Our founding fathers. Because it is their founding fathers. It is their founding fathers. Because that's their seed. But they just look like us, but they're the seed of the devil. See, they're sickening. They waving the flag and everything else. These people shit on us for amazing shit and everything else for 400 years, and now you waving the flag, you love it. I mean, come on. And I mean, you don't care about your ancestors? You spit on your ancestors? It said, love, honor your mother and your father. Brother and sister. Anyway. So that's what's showing the demons there. That top one, that's us. See? So it said 1/3, 1/2 are demons. Those are the ones on TV, Hollywood, because they're successful in society because society was made for devils, and they are devils. They're blackface devils. See, so they're successful in it. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Steel and porcelain mixed with porcelain else because they're still porcelain. They got loose steel. They got loose steel cover. You know, like you might get some silverware, and it might be iron, and they got a real thin sheet of silver over it, right? See, they color it with silver, but it's really iron, right? So that's the case. So they porcelain, but they got a thin shield of steel around them. So they look like us and everything, but they don't have the strength of us, right? And then you got the porcelain, all European porcelain, right? Now I got to think plastic. So let's get back to what Elijah Muhammad says. Their last weapon be women. They're women. Now the women, see, porcelain is like a plastic, but the women, they're like past plastic. See, plastic, porcelain here to crack, but plastic is just deformed. It's just deformed. Remember, this is not the actual way. I'm just giving you an analogy here. See, plastic, it depends on the plastic. It won't necessarily crack, but it might bend, deform, right? So they're colliding with us. See? And it affects them more than it affects us. And so so under this pressure here, where we're all colliding with each other here, right? Because you see the collisions getting worse and worse. The so-called black relations getting worse and worse and worse. See, because the collisions and stuff, right? Okay. So, because that's the pressure building up. And they can't handle the pressure building up just from not just us, but the pressure from out, external from all other nations. Because all like the crime, like the Bible says, all the shit they've been doing for the last 40 years, it said the people that survived, all of that, said they're going to turn, it said survivors, the remnant of the people that they've been pissing on and shitting all over the world, they're going to tear them down. They're going to come against, because everybody's, when this war, Armageddon, the real war Armageddon breaks out, America's not going to have any friends, even amongst the Europeans, because they can fight with each other, right? But I'm just keeping it local here. So we're colliding. So in general, right, the males, right, they're rigid. So they're cracking. Drugs, sexual dysfunction, right? Suicide, whatever, right? So the females, right, when they collide, they don't crack. They deform. And then the other problem they got is they can't find no men because all their men is like is being compromised, drugs and everything else. So when they collide, these females when they collide with the males, right? See, they don't break. They just kind of transform. Because I'm saying that because the gym I go to, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna say I ain't gonna lie to you because I don't lie to you anyway, right? But I was just noticing that. I mean, I noticed it. Wow. But I just am counting the last couple days. And every black guy came in there had a white girl on his arm. Every one. With no exception. There's about like 20 of them. Every one. See? Because they're seeking out these brothers because like I said, when they collide, remember some collisions are acceptable, some are not. Depends on how intense they are. See? So they bend themselves to fit. And the brothers accept that. So they're they glue on to them. See? So when they hit them, when they hit the male, crack. But hit them, they like transform. See? So, and if you accept that, because that's why you don't have the injury, have your knowledge of self, because you accept that, so you accept them, right? Because now they transform into a form that they conform into something you lack. And if you accept that, right? That gets back to that winter and spring people again, because how do I say this? The bottom line is there's going to be a judgment here. They say your name has to be in the Lamb's Book of Life. You show up like that, you might not even show up. See, because only the weak-minded ones would do that. See, they've forsaken their sisters that went through hell. Because they was the real warriors for the last 40 years. Because the only reason why we still here. Because up the master, we all demons. Because he wouldn't even let a black man, a original, sleep with a black woman unless by his permission. And he was the one that break them out. I went through that story already, right? Because they had this thing where he reserved the right, and he didn't reserve it, he did it, to break into all the virgins. Because he would tell mom, he'd call her mother, hey, Mom, it's time what? Time to bring Emily in. Emily's 10 years old, 11 years old, 9 years old. See? And then he bring her in. He sent them there naked, right? Then mom's got to do all the things that you can't imagine to him to show her daughter what she's got to do to please him. And then when she get finished, then he goes on and he jumps on the daughter while the mom is still there. And the mom's still giving instructions. No, babe, you got to do it this way. Man, these people are sick. That stuff that was going on. And you loving them. Well, a lot of you are just demons anyway. So I just want to point it out, brothers and sisters. You understand? I'm trying to get some idea what's going on here. See? Because that's why these black guys, they seeking out the white girls. Not a lot of white girls seeking out the white guys. First, they can't find their men being cracked and been broken and suicide and everything else. They can, they fall apart. So, and when they collide with a black person, they become what that black person want to be, like plastic. It transforms to if you hit plastic with a hammer, right? Unless it's real rigid plastic, then it's going to take the form of the blow of the hammer. So it's going to take the form that the black man lacks. See? And if it's a black female, she ain't going to do that, right? Because she's going to be herself, and he don't want that. See? But yet and still, you saw boy Django, right? He had to kill another black person, right, in order just to get a beer and to be able to sleep with, sleep. Brothers and sisters, and you loving on these people? That show you still programmed. You still working on their names. That show you still programmed. You loving your enemy. Does Jesus love his enemy? Wait a minute. Why did Jesus tell you to do something he don't do? Does he love his enemies? What did he say he's going to do with his enemies? He's coming to destroy them. He's coming with a sword. So why would he tell you something he can't do himself? You better read that again. Because there's more to it. You didn't read all the verses. It says by doing that, right, you're heaping coals upon their head. But that's another story. That's another mathematics lesson we can talk about some other time. So I just want to show you that. See? So you get some, if you get anything out of that, right, it's more to it. See, for you audio people, you can't see the graphic here, right? But anyway, we always tell you, give you the link to the audio so you can look at it, right? But I'm trying to give you a general feel for it, right? See, this person is not going to logarithms and vectors and differential equations. No, we're not and trigonometry. We're not going. We're just trying to give you a basic idea of what's going on. See, it's going to get worse. But then remember the collisions. So now, as this energy, so now America first, the Europeans are going to be tearing themselves apart. See, let's go back here and then we move on to our main topic here. See, Europeans are going to be tearing themselves apart because they move faster. There are more collisions, right? That means the pressure is greater. They can't handle it, so they tear themselves apart. And then what? Next come after them comes the European, comes the Oriental. They're going to take, right, and benefit, and they're going to destroy the European countries after the European finish tearing themselves apart. Because now they're moving faster, right? And they're harder than porcelain, tin's harder than porcelain. And then what's behind them? That's India. That's why I said the lion, what was the leopard with yellow and brown spots. They're talking about India and China. And I talk about that in another presentation, brothers and sisters. Right? So that's what it is. And then last is us. We end up hearing all of it. Because the pressure comes so great that it breaks up everybody, and we go all the way to the end. We can handle all of the pressure. No pressure in the universe can crush us. They tried to do it during chain slavery. They destroyed a lot of us, but they couldn't do the job. See, but all they did is get the weaker ones. And what's happening right now is that it's the weaker of us. See, because that's how they identify themselves. They're the weaker. We don't want them. We don't want to take them home because they can't. In other words, only ones we take is those survived the furnace or affliction. We call the gravitational vortex. You have to be able to defeat the gravitation of this reality. If you can't, then you're lost in it. You have to defeat the gravitational force of reality to come into a new reality. Otherwise, you'll be bringing this back with you, and we don't want it. See? Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So let's go move on to okay, I'm gonna take a small break here. For you can take a few seconds to analyze this, think about it. Be back in a second. Okay, brothers and sisters. Now we're going to build this Injil Key. See? Now, some of you are familiar with Revelations. If you're going to look into it, get the transliteral version. Don't mess with King James Version. Don't mess with all the other versions. You get transliteral version. You get one online. Jehovah's Witness has the best one out there. What transliteral means, they don't put their ideas, their biases in it. They look at the word and they translate the word. Even though it's come from Greek. But it's still the best one because the actual scripture didn't come from Greek because Jesus was never in Greece. So don't go for that line, that lie. He was never in Greece, so why would he? And he wasn't. He didn't come to Greece. He came to the so-called Hebrews. He came to, if anything, it would have been Italian, right? Because that's Rome controlled that region during that period of time. He wasn't in Greece. So why in the world he built the scripture in Greece when he wasn't in Greece? All people didn't even speak Greek. See, it was revealed in Aramaic because you can get the Aramaic version. The reason why they don't tell you that it was revealed in Aramaic because Aramaic is a sister language of Arabic. Aramaic is a sister language to Arabic. Aramaic is a sister language to Arabic. You see where I'm going with this? Just like American English is a sister language to British English, right? So the only way you can speak Aramaic, only way you can say God in Aramaic is Allah. They don't want you reading that version. Because a lot of some strange God, he's just a moon god and whatever, right? It didn't matter that he walked and talked with Abraham. It don't matter that Abraham built Mecca, Abraham built the pilgrimage, Abraham built Medina. It don't matter because they won't tell you that part. See, they tell you that, oh, Prophet Muhammad invented Islam. No, he didn't. That's why it says in chapter 20, that's European history, chapter 20, it says he resurrected it. He resurrected Abraham's Islamic empire. They had descended into idolatry. He just cleaned it up. That's all Prophet Muhammad did. So he just cleaned it up. Abraham built all that. See? And if you read chapter 20 of the Injil, it gives you the European history, because when they rose, that resurrection forced the Europeans in the bottomless pit, Europe, for 1,000 years. They tell you they had the so-called medieval or dark ages, but that was only them. That wasn't anybody else. And then they would come out and rule the whole planet, Gog and Magog. You've been two European empires, two world empires that you know in all civilization, in all history. Well, I'm talking about continental. I'm talking about universal, all over the world. That's been Britain and America. That's who Gog and Magog is. Gog is not Russia. It's right there, but they tell you that's how they blind you. They tell you, oh, no, that's something in the future. In that case, they tell you that's future. It hasn't happened yet. No, it has happened. That's their history. But if they tell you that, then they identify Islam as the religion of Abraham. They also identify who they are, the devil, Satan, and all that. They was went through in the bottomless pit. And Europe, because Europe was a shithole. That's what I was trying to get out of it. See, brothers and sisters, stop the bullshit. Everything I say here, we can prove easily. Okay, so the angel, right? First it says there was these four creatures. See, and then there was the seven spirits. Now, seven spirits represents the original nation. If they're the spirits of God, they are God. See, and then it says the first was like a lion, had 6 wings, right? Okay, we saying okay, no, we just leave it like that. That was the first one, and then the second one was like a calf with 6 wings. The third one had the face of a man, right? And the fourth one was like a flying eagle. There you go. Remember I told you that's the key? That's how you build the key. That's what they're trying to tell you. That's how you build the key, right? And then the spirits, right? When you feel it's in here, let's see if I did that. I didn't do that. What's going on? Okay, let me back up here. I didn't do that. That's my mistake. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. Okay. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. I just want to show you this just to make sure you understand. See? That's the whole key. That's how you put it together. Because spirits, they're right down the center there. That's the whole key. And then you got the sun at the top. That's the key. Once you got the key, you need this key to unlock all the scriptures. Because all you do is you take the verse, you map it into this, right? Because it's the same puzzle. It's like you have a puzzle, but you have different pictures on it. Well, the puzzle's the same. The puzzle's not changing. The picture's changing. And once you understand how to put the puzzle together, you don't care about the picture. But if you go by the picture, you're going to have a problem with the puzzle because you're going to think it's a different puzzle all the time. See? But once you understand it's the same puzzle, just different picture, then all you got to do is map the picture into there, right? Because you know how to put the puzzle together. So you get a picture, map it into there. Okay. So we talked about that. And we're going to go in. Like first was lion, right? That's a calf, flying eagle, face of a man, and flying eagle. And they all had wings. See, all had wings. And there's 24 wings there. Why is that important? We're going to see in a minute. There's 24 wings there. So it's 4 creatures and 24 wings. And okay, remember I just showed you, look at that carefully now. Those wings. But they're also the elders. Remember it says the same puzzle, the picture just changes. See, the same puzzle in Revelation from chapter to chapter, just the picture changes. So now they call elders, referred to as elders. 24 elders. Now Elijah called the 24. He said there was 24 scientists. See, because he didn't never break the seals. He was based on what he's trying to understand from his point of view. But no, they're elders, 24 elders, and you got the 4 creatures. Now go and read it for yourself. I'm not going to read all the stuff that's in there, right? Because I don't want to take a lot of time doing that, but you can go and read on your own. And it says they were circling the throne. 24 elders. Now, notice, let me back here, notice. Oh, mistake. Okay, pardon me, brothers and sisters. Down here, European, they're not elders. They're not elders. That's a mistake. Not elders. That's a mistake I made. See, I don't have those elders here, because these are 24 elders. They're elders because they was made. See, they came out, they're not elders. See, they're not original. They was made 6,000 years ago. That's why they're not called elders. Okay? See, but it says that the 24 elders and the 4 creatures, right? They was surrounding, right? They were surrounding the throne. The creatures. They were surrounding the throne. Which throne were they surrounding? That's Satan. Satan is the one sitting on the throne. Satan had the book in his hand. They had the book. They had the Bible. But they couldn't understand it. See, but it makes no sense. You say God had the book. If God had the book, he wrote the book, how come we couldn't understand the book that he wrote? So they try to say it's God sitting on the throne. See? And it says no one in the heavens or earth or under earth could figure that book out, could break the seals, but the Lamb. Well, is God, if God is one of those places, he's above the earth, under earth, or in the earth. So he's concluded too. So it says no one could do that but the Lamb, period. So the one that had the book was sitting on the throne. Now was Satan sitting on the throne. They surrounding Satan. They worshiping Satan. Now I ain't talking about Farad. Remember, he's not one of the creatures. He said the creatures were, and that 24 elders. See, the Son represents the Lamb. That's what's happening here. I'm trying to give you, showing how the key works. So that's Satan sitting on the throne. He had the book, but he couldn't figure it out. And so Suleiman, or the Lamb, took the book from him. Because if he was God and he wrote the book, how come he couldn't understand the book that he wrote? See? He's either in the heavens, earth, or under earth, in one of those places. So it couldn't be him. That's Satan on the throne. So let's look at this a little further. See, here you go. See? They all surrounded. That's the key again. It's just another format. That's the key. And said they had crowns. You think 24, it doesn't say 24 crowns. It said they had their crown. That's 2 crowns right there. That they threw under their feet. That's another story. I'm not going into detail here. But they was around there, the 24 elders, and they had crowns upon their head. And the creatures, that's the layout. And they was worshiping the flying eagle or Satan on the throne. See? And another thing, I wasn't going to go into this, right? But I'll hit on it for a minute. See? Because this is something that you should be able to follow. See, I tell you, Injil reveals everything. So I'm going to go a little deeper here that, so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. See here the structure here? Now, this gets very deep, but I'm not going to really go into really deep in it. But look, it says that this eagle, he was down on other ones, or he was controlling the other ones. See, the eagle represents European countries. They're controlling all the other nations. Now look how the angel characterized this. Okay, the Asian nations, that also represents the Arabs, but that's India. Right? That's the cow. Remember, they worship the cow over there. That's what they represent. That's Asia. And who was dominating them for hundreds of years? Britain. Britain was dominating them. They wasn't colonizing them, right? But they was dominating them for, a couple hundred years, right? Okay. What about Africa? Who was colonizing Africa? Western Europe. Europeans. Is this a coincidence? Right? They was colonized. They colonized them for hundreds of years. Right? And then what about China, the Orient? Right? They was dominated by ideologically. Right? See? Because Russia, that represents Russia right there. See, you got Eastern Europe and you got Western Europe, that's the EU, Germany, France, everything, and you got Western Europe, Eastern Europe, right, which represents Russia. They remember they was communists. and they dominate the Oriental world ideologically. China's communist, Vietnam communist, Korea communist. You see what I'm saying? You can't make this up, brothers and sisters. And then look at us, right? We was enslaved by America for hundreds of years. You can't make this up, brothers and sisters. Now the crown up there, that represents the European, the top. I'm going too deep into this, but the top two wings of every nation represents the Islamic part of it. They actually represents gold. I'm not showing that here, right? So the crowns, they would be gold because they represent the Islamic part. That represents the Shia, Syria and Iran, right? See? And they're going to cast them down. See, that's another story. See? And so the gold, the top, like you see in elders, you see the top two is gold. But gold, because they represent, when we came up, it was all gold. But then we got corrupted by them sowing their seed amongst our seed, right? Okay, so it's a little I'm going to throw a little tidbit at you. Remember I said the top two wings represent the Islamic part of that nation. Okay? So the crowns represent the Islamic part of European countries. That's the Shia and that's Syria and Iran basically, right? Okay, so on the golden on the Asian part right here, right? The Arabs are part of the Asian, right? And they would be the gold part. See, they would be the top part, the gold part. You see where I'm going with this? The golden calf. The golden calf. That's what the golden calf is. Take it or leave it, brothers and sisters. You better take it because it's true. Sunniism is the golden calf. See? I just thought I'd throw it out there at you, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's move on. And it reveals everything. There's so much here I'm not even telling you about. I'm trying to keep this brief, right? And informative so you can get some understanding out of it. Now let's go back. So you get Farrakhan and Tom. They know who the dragon is. They know who the serpent. They don't know shit. They're guessing. Because they said, well, I was a dragon. He used to be a serpent. Now now he turned into a dragon. Yeah, but what represents the 7 heads? What represents 10 horns? What represents the crowns? What represents all that? He don't know. They have no idea, right? So here we're going to go right here. We're going to read chapter 12. Now this represents the woman right here, right? She had a crown upon her heads, top here. She had the moon under her feet, right? In her belly, right? She was impregnated. So the original nation is giving birth to Farad. That's what it's talking about, right? See? But she had two sons. She had a child, a male child, and had a son. See, you think they're the same thing, they're not. See, one represents Suleiman, one represents Farad. There's two that will come at the end, right? The God and the high priest. The moon on her feet, right? So that's the woman, right? That's the woman, the moon on her feet. Now under that, you had a dragon. He had 10 horns and 7 heads. You see it, brothers and sisters? That's what the dragon is. The dragon, this is the dragon right here. The cow, we're going to see it in a minute. He had 10 horns and 7 heads. You always had a beast that had 10 horns and 7 heads. That's this beast right here. But it's another beast too. It's 2 beasts. One beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. He had crowns upon his horns, where the dragon had crowns upon his heads. And then he had another beast that had 7 heads, 10 horns. He had no crowns at all. See, that's the African beast. That's another story altogether. But the point is that in chapter 13 it says that they worship, they praise the dragon because he gave his power to the authority to the beast. What it means is that transfer of power, because the crowns went from the 7 heads, they had authority, to the 10 horns. That means China and India, right? They're going to become superpowers as America, as Europeans tear themselves apart in the War of Armageddon. And then they're going to finish the job. See, that's what that means right there. Okay. And the dragon had a tail. There's the tail. See, there's the key again. He had a red tail, right? There's the red tail. And there's the 7 crowns on the 7 heads. That's the dragon. That's the dragon. And then the lion represents one beast, and the face of man represents the other beast. See, one had 7 heads and one had 7 heads and 10 horns, but the crown was upon his horns. And the other one had 7 heads, 10 heads, 7 heads and 10 horns, but didn't have the crowns on heads. Because he said, but alongside this one that had the crowns on horns. So that's the whole thing right there. See, we break this whole thing down. I told you the key. See, they don't know what the hell they're talking about because they're lying. They're deceiving you. Because they parasites been living off you. T.J. Jakes, all these people, they tell you they want money, money, money. Well, they tell you prayer works. Well, prayer works, and why do they pray God for their money? Why they got to get it from you? They tell you to pray. You pray for money to give to them. Well, why call the middleman? Just pray for it directly. Brothers and sisters, you start asking questions and stop taking bullshit for answers, and you start deprogramming yourself. Your eyes are open, and then you'll see enemies, and you become a different person. Then you'll be free, because you're not free right now. Now, let's look at this demon thing. Okay. And the sixth poured out the bowl of him upon the great Euphrates, and was dried up the water of it, in order they might be prepared, right? Where the kings from the rising of the sun. And I saw out of the mouth of the dragon. Remember I told you, this is the dragon right here, house of Sod. And that's another story. I'm not going to go too much into this. But the angel tells us that the house of Sod is not even Arabs. He said the Indians that the British put on the throne because they couldn't trust the Arabs to keep that flow of oil going, because, you know, they might get, they think they terrorist fanatic, and they might wake up and say, hell, I'm not going to give y'all no more oil. Right? So they set this Sod family, they brought them into Arabia, had them roam around a while to make look, that's where they originally was from. And then they put them on the throne, right? And then Roosevelt and them made a deal with them. Later on, Nixon came and followed up through with it, that they keep giving cheap oil to the United States, and in turn, they would guarantee their throne. That's what it's all about. Because it tells you, it says, do not make friends with Christian Jews, or you want them. What's so-called Saudi Arabia doing now? House of Sod. Abraham Accord, they're making friends with false Israel, right? And so forth, so on. And they're attacking the Shia. See, there's more to that. There's a lot more to that, bro. Says I'm gonna hit on just a little bit, right? When false Israel came on the scene in 1948, there wasn't that many of them there. I think probably maybe less than 1 million. But you had like 45, 50 million Arabs all around them. They had armies more than the population of all Israel, all false Israel. See? So how in the hell did false Israel just whip them and beat them when they surround and attack them? Because the Arabs didn't want to win. The kings didn't want to win. The man in the seat wanted to win because they believed the Quran. But the people in power didn't want to, because they wanted false Israel to be there, because they betrayed us. They know we just true to Abraham, because the Arabs are our brothers and sisters, but they turned white. They got circumcised. They got rid of that black skin. But they ones, that story of Joseph, they betrayed us because they're Ishmael and we're Isaac, and God blessed Isaac and said he would inherit the kingdom. He would inherit the land there. And they got mad because they was an older brother, but they wasn't married. But their mother wasn't Sarah. Their mother was a servant. So God blessed Sarah's child, Isaac. And so that's why it said Joseph, when Joseph told them that he's going to inherit everything, they threw him into slavery. They betrayed him. And they know it. And that's why they don't want us talking about we going to return home. They don't want that Elijah Muhammad message. They don't want that, because they turn you to Sunnism. And Sunni, you nothing. You just another nigga with the Quran. That's why they don't want you teaching. That's why they're paying Farrakhan off to teach you Sunnism, to get you out of this stuff Elijah Muhammad taught. See? That's what's going on with that. See? So they didn't want to defeat false Israel, because the false Israel, that means they must be the real ones, and they take the light off of us, the spotlight off of us, because they know who we are. They try to help us. They sold us into slavery. They was the ones that went into, because remember, when the so-called slavery started, see, I'm not going to get too much detail here. But the Moors, they call them the Moors. Moors came out of Morocco off northwest Africa, right? They controlled Spain for like 700 years, I believe it was. That was so-called Golden Age. These were black people. You see little hints of it. They show you with Morgan Freeman, he played one of them, and they had another one. Anyway, they call them Moors because that's another way of saying black. And that we Negro came from Spanish, because that's where they say black in Spanish. Because they controlled Spain up until 1492, when they had the Battle of Grenada, when they was defeated, right? That same year Columbus sailed, right? They was defeated, but Spain became the most powerful country in Europe because they inherited all the things the Moors had done. They had a navy, because all the rest of Europe was in turmoil, tyranny, disease, and hunger and everything else. Right. Because they was they were doing anything, but because under the Moors, they controlled Spain. That's why Spanish is so dark and everything right now. Then they had, that was so-called, the Spanish, the only one didn't go through that. See, because that was called so-called Golden Age. The Jews called it the Golden Age because they would escape from the European countries into Spain because the Moors protected them. See, they don't tell you all these kind of stories. The Moors protected them. So it was like the Golden Age. They was the best, and they also controlled parts of Italy too. See, they don't tell you all these kind of stories. That's why the Italians are so dark. That's why I got a lot of Italians. They act like brothers, right? Because they are. The original. Some of them, a lot of them. See? Because the Moors. Okay? Okay, so, like I said, the Moors was defeated in 1492. And so, remember, they come out off the northwest coast of Africa. Now, the Arabs controlled all that northwest coast of Africa. They controlled all of it. That's talked about in Genesis, where after there was a flaming sword that would protect us from the tree of life from Adam and Eve. That's another story, but we the tree of life. That's another story altogether, brother, sister. I'm trying not to get too far off here, right? Anyway, but if you go back and see those old movies like Roots and everything, who was the guides to lead the Europeans in there? It was the Arabs. They wanted to tear us down. See? Because they know we were going to hurt. That's why they sold Joseph in. Remember, when Joseph went into, he was sold into slavery, but he wasn't. He was sold into Egypt, but he wasn't enslaved. He was imprisoned. Difference. He was in prison, but they let him out of prison because they was in trouble. They didn't know how to figure. They didn't know how to do anything. The whole system was about to fall apart. They didn't know how to do anything because they're predatory. They're a predatory nation, and they brought him out to show him how to get their economic system under control. And how did he reward it? They didn't enslave their descendants. His descendants. That's how we got enslaved. So that's that's what Elijah Muhammad said. It took 64 years. That's that period of Joseph, right? And then he enslaved in 1619 when the slavery actually started. That's another story. I'm gonna leave it there, brothers and sisters. See? So that's what's going on with that. See? So they went in there, and so that's how it got. And that's why it's called the Negroes, because that's how you say black in Spanish. That's where it comes from, Negroes. Because it was a revenge thing initially. Eventually, it was a revenge thing to come in and get them, right? And then they saw it so profitable, then it turned to a slavery thing. See? And then that's when the British and everything got involved. And they took the word Negro to the next stage, nigger. But that's where first they call you Moors, right? Then they call you Negro, and then you got to become niggers. Because we was all Muslim. The Moors were all Muslim. We was all Muslim. We came over here initially. You see that movie, Amadan, or see. They see these things, brothers and sisters. Anything we can prove it all. That's the whole time I asked Alex Haley. See, Malcolm told him that his parents, his ancestors was Muslim. He said, "Oh man, I don't believe that shit." Right? He said he didn't believe it. He said it like that too, right? And then what happened? He went to do some research and found it was true. See, because they tell you we was running around bones our nose and everything else. Okay, so here we go here. The dragon, House of Sod. They're not even Arabs. They're Indians. Right? That's the dragon. So it says, out of the mouths of the beast. Remember that I said it was 3 beasts. Right? So it said out of the mouth of the beast. That's the beast. That's the beast that has 7 heads, 10 horns, but no crowns. Right? That's the beast. That represents Africa. That represents a person that you know. I'm not going to it right here, right? But you're going to find about it pretty soon. I've talked about quite a bit in my other presentations. But see, out of the mouth, see, you got to understand, you have the six wings, right? So it's like he's sitting on a horse. Remember, like the woman had the moon under her feet. So in that construct, right, the two bottom ones would be like the feet. See, or in this case, it's like a face, right? So in other words, if that's the face, then the line under him would be the mouth. So it says, out of the mouth of the beast, out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the false prophet. See, false prophet. See, that's always the demons. False prophet represents false Israel. They lie because Israel was a prophet, so they false prophet. So it says that's the demons. Those are the ones that you see, Denzel and Open. They're all demons. See, they don't have care about for you. They parasites living off of us. Because Master told them once they don't no longer need us when they went to industrial age, they said, Master, what are we going to do? I said, well, I don't want you ain't going to be around here. I'm not going to take care of you. You ain't going to live off us, but you can live off of them. And that's what they've been doing ever since. Parasites living off us. They haven't produced anything for you, nothing. And all these seeds where they run things, how's things working out for you? Think, wake up, brothers and sisters. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to show you how this key explains, and this is just really elementary stuff, brothers and sisters. This key explains everything. But I'm just trying to show you, because they try to wax intelligent like they knew what the angel was about. They have no idea. I'm just showing you. See, we're showing you something that makes sense. We're showing you proof. We're not just pulling stuff out of the ass and say, this is honey. See? So that's something you can work on, brothers. Like I said, for you audio people, right? We're going to show a link. You can look at this if you like, right? I think that's it. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. One more. Okay. Let's back up here. Chapter 18. Now it talks about Babylon falling. Now Babylon represents America. Babylon represents America. So in Babylon falling, see, you got to understand how the angel works. So it falls. Because it's getting kicked out of the Middle East. So the Syria is risen. They're kicking America and Gog and Magog out of the Middle East, leaving false Israel alone, right, abandoned, and under siege. So that's what's happening. So now you see the Shia, they back in their position. I didn't show the war, the positions. I didn't show all of that because that's another story altogether. Anyway, they're in control of the Middle East now. They're on top, right? And at the same time, that's when it says Suleiman would dispatch Farrakhan. That's the son of perdition. That's who Farrakhan is. At that same time, it says that the Son of Man would destroy him with the brightness of his coming, right? Anyway, see, that's what it means when Babylon fell. That's America. It fell. See? So we're going to see. It says when it fell, right, it became the habitation, right, of demons and unclean birds. Right? Okay, we're going to see that. See? This explains everything. See? Now, false Israel has been taken out. Because remember, that's not supposed to happen. If they trusted Abraham, that can't happen to them. But it does happen to them. That's the abomination of desolation. We see Jerusalem surrounded by armies. But says this is clear. Why can't you read it? It says when you see who controls Jerusalem? Who is it? Jerusalem is the capital of what? It's the capital of false Israel. Who controls it? They do. So it said when you see Israel, Jerusalem, it says Jerusalem surrounded by armies, Jerusalem surrounded by armies, Jerusalem surrounded by armies, right? Know their destruction is near. That means they're going to be destroyed. That means they're not true to Abraham. And so when you see it, flee, because then that becomes clear that we're the true to Abraham. And then they're going to come after us to get rid of us. Because the only way they can keep their mindset is they got to get rid of us. Because if they're not true seed of Abraham, then we must be. And so to prove that they are spiritual seed of Abraham and that they good people, that this was a promised land, that we really Shem, right? Sons of Ham, the sons of Shem, who was cursed black and doomed to be slaves the rest of our life. See, so for that scenario, they committed no harm. They did anything wrong because they enslaved us. We were supposed to be slaves. We was cursed by God to be black and enslaved forever. And this was the promised land. So getting rid of the Native Americans, that was like getting rid of the riffraff. So that means they're good people. But when they found that we true to Abraham, he curses us will be cursed. Who lets us be blessed? They've been cursing us and blessing false Israel. They got it backwards, so now they're being cursed. That's why all hell's breaking loose, and they've been blessing them and cursing us. So now they're catching it. See, because we the true seed Abraham. That's what it's talking about right here. I say flee, because they won't come after you when it happens, brothers and sisters, because they got to get rid of you. That's the only way they're going to keep their mind frame, because they want to keep believing they're good people. But if we true seed Abraham, that means they've been doing all the evils they've been doing to us, and that explains why they're catching us hell. Why they're in war, because at this particular time, they're going to be at war with Russia, getting their ass kicked over in Europe. Not just Russia, but the Europeans are going to turn on them. NATO and all of them are going to turn on them. They're getting their ass kicked over there. They got a demon war, plague going on here, and they got and the China and India is getting ready to make a move on them. They see everything's falling apart. And why? Because of us. And the call can go out. It's not the Army and the Navy. It's not the Army and the police force. It's your citizens. That's why it says flee immediately. Don't go in your house and get anything. Because it ain't because the police coming or the Army's coming, because it'll take time to get there. It's telling you to flee immediately because you're going to be your next door neighbors and stuff, because they're going to know that they got to get rid of you. See, because if they can get rid of you, that can prove that they're the spiritual Abraham, because remember, false Israel went down, that proved they wasn't. So if they get rid of us, that proved we wasn't either. See? They're going to try, it's not going to work. So anyway, you can read this for yourself, bro. It says that's what it means. See, that's why it says, here comes half. She fell, and she came in prison for every spirit unclean, because remember, they were all spirits, but now they're unclean because they become demons, right? And prison of every buried unclean having been hated. See, that's false Israel. Been hated by everybody. That's what it is. That's what prison. That's what it means. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay, that's it, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna leave it there. Leave it there. Let me go and check on my order, brothers and sisters. Oops, let me do that. Go check them out. And for audio, brothers and sisters, thanks for listening. This is the Black Alert segment of Firestone, the Fire Zone. Let's see. Fire Zone out. And brothers and sisters, hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.